Hi, welcome back. So up until now, we've been gradually calming our group of students down outside the classroom to get them ready in a frame of mind where they're more likely to listen to our instructions when we address them as a whole and try to get them into the room and get them to start work. Remember, if we were to start ordering them around when they just come up the corridor, it's more likely that they're not going to listen to us. So we're gradually calming them down with this informal chit-chat and some positive non-confrontational reminders about the behaviour that we do want to see. So now what we're going to do is go through a stepped process to get them from outside the classroom into the classroom, sat down and ready, actually working in the quickest possible way with minimal fuss, minimal fighting and minimal disruption. Now remember, this is for a group that are really challenging, a group where their behaviour has become entrenched and habitual. This process is certainly going to help you turn this group around. Right, step one in our four-step process here is to give them a clear instruction. Now remember, up until now, it's been informal chat. It's been a relaxed tone of voice, just walking up and down the line, talking to small groups and individuals. When we're going to address them as a whole, we need to change the volume and tone that we use, and we need to change our position. We need to differentiate between this informal time and work time. So what we're going to do is move perhaps to the other side of the corridor, move away from them, increase our volume because we're going to be addressing them as a whole. Now the instruction that you give them, this clear instruction, needs to be unambiguous. It needs to be crystal clear so that there is no room for misunderstanding and, more importantly, no room to give them an excuse to do something differently than what you want them to do. So for example, if you want them to be lined up quietly, ready to go in the classroom, that perhaps might not be the best instruction. Line up quietly. Why? Well, because some students are going to carry on talking, and when you say to them, I said line up quietly, they're going to say, well, I am being quiet. If you want them to be totally silent, then you need to say without talking. And that way, there's no room for manoeuvre. They can only possibly do what you ask them to do. So our clear instruction might be something like, line up without talking, arms by your sides, facing this way with your left shoulder against the wall. Now it's up to you whether you want to be quite as draconian as that, but like I say, with a really challenging group whose behaviours become entrenched, then you may well need to be that prescriptive. But the important point is that those instructions need to be very clear so that there's more chance of them following them. I like to use the phrase, if you give them clear tracks to walk in, there's more chance of them actually getting to where you want them to be. So make those instructions crystal clear. Okay, that takes us to step two. We've given our clear instruction. Step two is to let the first group in the room. Now what I mean by that is, some of those students are going to respond first time. Some of the students in that group, even in a really challenging group, some of them are going to respond to your instruction first time, particularly because we've been spending that time chatting to them and gradually settling them down. Anyone in that group that responds straight away and stands up with their arms by their side and faces in the right direction with no talking, you move them to the front of the line. Well done, that's excellent. Well done, you've done it straight away. Thank you for doing exactly what I asked. Move them to the front of the line along with something like, you've done exactly as I said. You've lined up with your hands by your sides without talking, facing the right way. You can move up to the front of the line. Notice what I'm doing there. I'm reinforcing that behaviour that I want to see. So the rest of the students know exactly what's expected of them. Okay, so now at the front of the queue, or the front of the line, we've got a group of students that have shown that they are ready to be trusted because they followed your instructions straight away, first time. This group have shown that they can be let into the classroom and trusted enough to get sat down and get on with their work. Now I know what you're thinking. You let a group of students into the classroom on their own and they're just going to do whatever they want. Well, not if you prepare the room in the right way, because before you let anyone in the room, you're going to have three things in place. The first is a seating plan, and on that seating plan, you're going to write down exactly where you want individuals to sit. So that's either a seating plan that's up on the wall with all the seats and their names next to them, or individual name cards on each desk or each table. The important point is that they have somewhere designated to sit. Now you know your group well. So you can think in advance and say to yourself, right, I know the students that are going to cause me least problem in this lesson, so I can sit them at the back. The ones that are likely to cause me more problems, I'm going to sit them closer to the front and away from each other. So think very carefully about your seating plan. Remember, effective classroom management is preempting problems and thinking in advance. Your seating plan must reflect that. The second thing you're going to have in place is the right equipment. A lot of your students, particularly in a challenging group, are going to be coming to class with no pen, no pencil, no paper, etc. So you preempt that problem. On each desk there is the equipment that they need, be it a pen, a ruler, a pencil, piece of paper, whatever. It must be there on the desk ready and waiting for them. And the third thing is the right kind of activity. You need to have an activity ready for this group of students so that when they get in the classroom they can get sat down and get started on something straight away. The type of activity is very, very important. It needs to be an activity that requires no intervention from you. It needs no further instruction other than that which is either written on the board or written on the piece of paper in front of them on their desk. I call them settling starter activities because they require very little instruction. It's just something that they can get on with minimal fuss, minimal thought. It just occupies them for a few minutes while you're still outside dealing with the rest of the group. Now I've put a little document beneath this video that you can download, and that explains this process in a little bit more detail and also has a few of the settling starter activities that you could use. So you can download that and take that away with my pleasure. Okay, so we've now got this group of students that are ready to go into the classroom. Before we let them in, we explain very carefully that they are to be trusted and they've shown that they can be trusted. So I'm going to let you guys into the classroom because you've done exactly what I said. You lined up quietly with your arms by your sides, facing the front without talking. Fantastic. What I've got for you when you get in the classroom is a specific place where I need you to sit, and I've got some work that I need you to get on with. Now please don't let me down. You've already shown me that you can follow instructions. I need to speak to everyone else outside this room and I need you to help me do that. So when you go inside the classroom, you need to sit in the seat that I've given you and you need to get on with the work which is explained on the board. I will be in a few moments and I'll also be just outside the door so I can keep my eye on you. If there is any messing around, I will have to bring you back outside the classroom and you'll have to join everyone else. I really do thank you for your behaviour, so you guys can go in right now. Thank you very much. Okay, so now what we've done is we've let our first group in the room and we're keeping an eye on them before we go on to step 3. Okay, step 3 is actually very simple. All we're going to do is repeat our clear instruction. Now notice in the last step we were actually repeating that instruction several times. We were reinforcing it by thanking those students who'd already done what we asked them to do. So by now there are going to be another group of students who are ready to follow that instruction the second time when it's repeated. Because the first time you give that instruction, some of the students might not have heard you. Some students take a little bit longer to settle than others. So it's likely that there are still going to be some compliant students who just weren't quite ready the first time you said it. So you're going to repeat that instruction once. And what you find is that straight away a second group of students are ready to be moved to the front of the queue and can be let in the room in the same manner with the same instructions. What you've very effectively and very cleverly done here is you have filtered out the possible problems. And that is the beauty of this method. You've filtered out any students that were likely to be causing you trouble in the classroom were they to be let in straight away. You've done that because they're the students who you're still left with. And we'll come to them in step 4. Because with any group, with any class, there are going to be individuals that take longer than others to settle. Some students are going to bring their problems, their issues and their concerns to the classroom, and if they're not checked, if they're not dealt with, they often materialise as disruption and misbehaviour. So that's the beauty of this method. It gives us a chance of ironing out those problems before they come into the classroom. It may be a student who's forgotten to do their homework and doesn't really want to come in because they know they're going to get in trouble. It may be a student who's got bullying issues going on. A student might have problems at home. You might just have the class clown who loves the extra attention. Or it may be the peer pressure of the whole group stopping each other from getting down to work. Whatever the problem, whatever the issue, if we can deal with it at the door before those students actually come in, then we've got more chance of succeeding with the group and preventing those problems materialising later in the lesson. So these last few students, the ones that are left, we're going to deal with them at the door, but not by yelling at them and shouting at them and threatening them, but by giving them a little bit of extra attention and a little bit of additional support. And the way I put it over is something like this. Look, this group has had problems. We're not getting on as we should be. I don't know if the problems are with me or with the work, but I'm concerned that I get paid to be your teacher and to help you succeed, and that's not happening. That doesn't sit well with me because I really want you all to do well. So what I'm going to do this lesson is I'm going to give you an opportunity on a one-to-one basis to work with me and tell me what the problem is so that we can try and iron those out and give you a better time in these lessons. It might well be just that the activities are a bit dull for you, I don't know, but I want to help you succeed. So I've laid out the classroom with a seating plan, and you're going to be sitting on your own individual desk close to me, and that means I can just spend a few minutes with you through the lesson so that I can help get these problems sorted out. Now, it's really important that you get their agreement about this, because you don't want to just let them in and then it all descend into chaos and madness again. So just get their agreement by saying, look, are we agreed that we all want to do a little bit better and we want to try and at least address these problems? Yes, sir. Okay, that's fantastic. Well, we'll go in and you can go and sit in the seating plan and get on with the starter activity, and I'll come round and see you one-to-one. Now, that method gives you a really good way of getting those students in and a fighting chance of getting even a very difficult, challenging class into the classroom and get them started to work. Now, obviously, there are going to be some students that don't respond positively at the door. There may be some students who have to be left out in the corridor until they are ready to come inside. Those kinds of students we'll deal with later through taking control of the noisy class. But I hope you've seen that this is a fairly structured way of getting most students into the classroom and get them started down to work. Okay, I hope you appreciated those 4 simple steps to get your class in the classroom and started down to work as soon as possible. There are always going to be some students who don't respond to that, but don't worry, we've got that covered in the rest of Take Control of the Noisy Class. Now, in the next video, I want to introduce a way of getting their attention at the door so that they listen to your instructions. So this enhances the process of transitioning them from social time into work time. But as well as that, it also gives you 2 ways of maintaining their attention and focus throughout the rest of the lesson. So please make sure you stick around for video 3. Now, before that, if you like this video, please just leave a comment in the box below and I'll see you on the next page.